Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. So let me just get these. Let me just get these graphics on. Right, the graphics are on. I've got that one on. I've got the. I've got these ones on down the bottom. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So NATO has been attacked. Missiles have been intercepted over a NATO country. Now, I've got quite a lot of stuff I need to unpack here, and it's going to be very difficult for me to get through this in any legible order because there's so much information. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump straight to the map. I'm not going to give any, niceties. Hello, everyone. How is it going? Click the buttons down below. Let me just jump straight to the map because there's a lot of important information that I need to share with you guys right now. Okay, so I'm going to share it right now. So I'll do this later on as well towards the end of the live stream. However, so a few key locations that we're going to be talking about tonight, guys. Okay, so obviously you've got the war in the Middle East. You've got Iran, which is this like ridiculously huge country here in the Middle East. You've got Dubai, United Arab Emirates down the bottom. You've got Saudi Arabia. You've got Syria. You've got Cyprus, Arya Fakatiri, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan. So you guys can understand those countries now. Let me just zoom right in here because there's a location here, Gaziantep, right? Gaziantep here. This is a key location that I'm going to be focusing on later on today. So this is where missiles were intercepted. This is where missiles were intercepted, Gaziantep. Now, I know Gaziantep very well because when I used to work in Syria, a lot of the office staff used to come from Gaziantep because it was relatively safe. They used to come over here, down the road, and into this town here, Kobani, where we have the office. Right. So that's the one location I want you guys just to be geographically aware of. Now, the second location that I want everybody to be geographically aware of is this little island. Can you guys see it? Can you guys see this island? Can you see what I'm talking about? No? Well, it's only there if you know it's there. It's like Narnia's magic wardrobe. Can you see it yet? No, you can't see it yet because it's not there, right? You have to find it, right? There. There you go. Kargigi Island. So this little island here is about to be the focus of a lot of special forces activity. Now, this little island here, Kargigi Island, whatever you want to call it. This is look at the runway on there, guys. Look at that runway. That is a that is a ridiculous runway, right? So this little island here is the key to Iran's oil producing facilities. Now, it has come out on the mainstream media in the last couple of hours that United States Special Forces may be looking to take control of that island. Why is that? Why is that? What's that got to do with anything? Well, 90% of Iranian oil is processed on that island. And look, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have been following this channel, if you guys have been following me, giving me likes, shares, comments, and all the rest of it, you guys know that I've been talking about this tiny little island for well over a year, maybe 2 years, because of its strategic significance. Now, the fact, and I've said this so many times, the fact that it has not been bombed means that they want to take it intact. Now, they want to take it intact because they want to take control of the gas oil separation, the infrastructure in that region. Now, tiny little island. And for those of you guys who are watching the video I shared earlier, it's like of Iran, it's like south and west, but you can't really call it southwest coast because it's like, well, I guess it is, whatever. Anyway, that's where it is, guys. Okay, so if anybody's talking about it, Karg Island, Kargigi Island. In old Air Force maps from like the Second World War, it's called Kargigi Island. It doesn't really matter. Kark Island, Kargigi Island, whatever it is, right? That is it. There, look, there's two different spellings on that on Google Earth. So that's where it is. 90% of Iranian oil is processed on that little island, and then it's just shipped off in, through the Strait of Hormuz into, wherever they might go. Right. So after the geography lesson, ladies and gentlemen, so I make no apologies for a little geography lesson. It's just that I'm going to be referring back to that later on today. So listen, good evening, or rather an alarming evening to everybody, because developments from the Middle East that's got everybody, that's got implications actually for NATO and therefore us here in the United Kingdom. The Turkish Ministry of Defense have announced that a ballistic missile launched from Iran has been intercepted and destroyed by NATO air defense missiles over Turkish airspace, which happened today. What we're on the 9th, the 9th of 9th of April, next one, 9th of March 2026. Now, according to the Turkish Ministry of Defense, the missile entered Turkish airspace and was taken out over the city of Gaziantep, which I just shared with you guys. And the reason I shared with it is so you know the proximity of Gaziantep to the Syrian border, right? So this missile was intercepted over Gaziantep. Thankfully, debris came down in deserted, uninhabited areas, vacant land, empty fields, so there were no casualties. However, for those of you guys who have been following this channel, right? You guys have been following me. Remember, today's news is old news, right? Today's news is old news. Remember when I was talking about NATO, Article 5, how it's not worth the paper it's written on? Yeah? You guys can remember that, right? Okay, so let's just put this into context, right? You know how I was telling you a while ago, I was sat there with two, high-ranking British members of Parliament, ministers, sitting ministers, high-sitting ministers, and I was talking to them, and they were saying, "Oh, Sean, that would be an Article 5 issue." And I said, "Yeah, that doesn't mean anything, mate." He's like, "No, Sean, Article 5, NATO Article 5, NATO Article 5. Listen, and if you're watching, you know who you are. I love you, right? I'm doing this, I love you, right? You know what I'm talking about. Your hair's fantastic." So, "Oh, Sean, NATO Article 5, that would be an Article 5 issue, and that just would not happen. Nobody dares to strike NATO because of NATO Article 5. I said, "Hang on a minute. Have you read NATO Article 5? "Yes, an attack on one member state is deemed an attack on all member states." Have you read the rest of it? Have you literally read the rest of it? Because it's not worth the paper it's written on. I'm not going to go into it now because I've absolutely done that to death. If anybody wants me to articulate why NATO Article 5 is not worth the paper it's written on, put it in the comments and I'll address it. So here we are, sat in what are we on, the 9th of March 2026, where we have a NATO country being attacked by ballistic missiles and nothing. Tumbleweeds. So now let's put all this together. Sean, an attack on one member state is deemed an... Okay, and what? So right, now we have the real world example. Turkey is a NATO member state, not like Cyprus, in case David Lammy's watching. No, David Lammy, Cyprus is not a NATO member state. So now we have a NATO member state, quite a senior one, certainly financially, being attacked by ballistic missiles. There's no mass rally. There's no mass retaliation. There's no mass strike back. There's no mass condemnation. Just seems like it's okay. Just seems like it's totally okay to attack a NATO member state. Now, let's put more into context, okay? So now we understand that attacking a NATO state is actually okay. You can attack a NATO state if you want. They're not going to do anything. You know, so all this pomp, all this pageantry, like I've been fucking saying for years, it's not worth the paper it's written on. NATO Article 4, different kettle of fish. Like I've been saying for years, NATO, these articles of memorandum or whatever they're called, they are not worth the paper they are written on. You know how I know this? Because I've read them. Do you know what confirmation we've got right now? NATO states are being attacked right now by ballistic missiles and nobody's doing anything. So turns out you can attack it. Okay, so what I'm getting at here is, excuse me, I do apologize. So what I'm getting at here is, do you think the Russians are paying attention to anything that's happening? Or do you think they're just like drinking vodka and eating like shishalik? I like to think the latter, but the reality is they probably are at least paying attention to what's happening in global events, right? So people in the United Kingdom, if you live in the United Kingdom, if you think you've got NATO skies above you protecting you, turns out that protection isn't as forceful as you think. And it turns out if you attack a NATO country with ballistic missiles, nobody does anything. So remember when I said to you guys that Poland is going to be next? How many times have I sat on this channel and said, Poland, 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 Poland? If there's any country, if there's another NATO, if there's a European, if there's a NATO country that's going to get attacked, it's going to be Poland. It's going to be Poland, guys. If you're going to get a free punch, you're going to want to make that count. So here's what I think is going to happen. And again, I am repeating myself from things I've said previously. However, for those of you guys who are thinking, oh, Sean doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, hang on, guys. Sorry, let me put the chat on. Give me a second. I've just remembered I've not got the chat. Right. The chat's on now. Oh, no, the chat was on, actually. I've turned it down. So what I think is going to happen, like moving forwards, is, okay, so NATO Article 5, it says, yes, an attack on one member state is deemed an attack on all member states. The Security Council will convene and decide what action to take to bring peace, to decide what action to take to bring peace and stability back to that region. How do you bring peace and stability back to a region that's only had a missile strike? You can't, you don't, it's not going to happen, right? So let me just give more context. So what's particularly striking about this strike into Turkey is this wasn't a one-off. I believe this was the second such attack in less than a week. The first was I think the first attack was on the 4th. NATO's air and missile defenses set up in the Eastern Mediterranean stepped in both times, eliminating, intercepting those threats and taking them down. But what this is doing is it's highlighting just how serious the alliance. I think serious is the wrong word. Serious is definitely the wrong word. It shows you how miscalculated the alliance is and how they take these threats. Now, the Turkish statements are quite fair. They're quite firm. They stress that while they value good neighborly relationships and regional stability, and they've got a long border with Iran and Syria, they will not hesitate to take whatever steps necessary to protect their airspace and sovereignty. The Turkish put it bluntly, we will take all necessary measures to persist and continue to intercept missiles without hesitation against any threat. And they added that sticking to those warnings is in everybody's best interests. They haven't said exactly what type of missiles were used or whatever. Now, this comes against the backdrop of rising tension in the Middle East, with NATO's role looking more and more depleted. NATO's role looks more like an NATO's role now, it looks more obsolete than ever, right? It looks more obsolete than ever because if NATO had any teeth, like I've been saying for such a long time, remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wanting tomorrow's news, this is the right channel for you. Today's news is old news. Turkey is NATO's second largest military. They haven't invoked Article 4 for consultation, but incidents like this do test the alliance collective defense position. Now, I just want to be, I don't want to get too, what's the word I'm looking for? Into the articles and stuff. NATO Article 5, it's not worth the paper it's written on, guys. It's really not. It doesn't give you any protection. Zero protection. No protection. NATO Article 4, however, it does give you some protection, only if it's being invoked. Now, what NATO Article 4 basically does is, when you invoke, I've got something on the bottom of my shoe, hang on. It's my shoelace. This shouldn't be there, but whatever. So, NATO Article 4 is when you call in all your NATO bros and you say, right, listen, we are getting attacked there. If this happens, what's our collective response? And then they all agree on it. They all sign little bits of paper, and then, that happens. So the reason I'm mentioning this, and I'll come on to Kargigi Island in a minute, where the United States maybe, I think they're going to use some sort of special forces operation and seize that island. The reason I'm mentioning this is we have we are literally watching right now a real world example of NATO failing. NATO is not worth the paper it's written on. Why? Well, you can see it. Turkey has had two ballistic missile attacks. Can you imagine 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 6 months ago, right? Going up to these politicians and saying, hello, mate. If a NATO country gets attacked by a ballistic missile, what would be the response? These high-ranking politicians and legal experts would say, yes, well, actually, an attack on one NATO country is deemed an attack on all NATO countries. So that would invoke Article 5, and that would mean World War III and total annihilation of that country. Turns out, actually, that's bullshit. And you can send ballistic missiles to NATO countries and nothing happens, like I keep saying. Right, listen, guys, I'm going to jump onto the chat, and then I will give you guys an update on what's been happening in Kargigi Island. We love Kargigi Island. And then we'll talk about what's been happening in the United Kingdom. Because, listen, if you live in the United Kingdom, things are not getting any better anytime soon. Right, Four Paws is saying, is somebody who's taking short breaths? What's happening? Who's taking short breaths? I don't know. Somebody's taking short breaths. Cassandra is saying, broke my ribs twice. They don't x-ray. Take strong painkillers and sleep. Okay, right. Okay. Listen, nobody needs to break their ribs. Googlinos is saying Erdogan, who is he the president or is he I think he's the president. Yeah, he's the president of Turkey. Erdogan Aliyev, I don't know what that means. Is that a place or is that a person? Discuss regional escalation after the attacks on Iran. Danielle Tubbs is saying, have you seen the White House official page, Trump's new movie trailer about the war in Iran? The subterfuge cult is horrifying. I've not seen that, no, but I've seen there's a do you know what? I was going to do a video. Listen, I'm going slightly off topic now, and I am going to go down a little side quest. But do you know what? Skull. Excuse me. Listen, guys, men, right? Men that are watching this channel right now, perk your ears up, right? I was on YouTube earlier, and I was watching an AI commercial for King Conan. And I'm probably going to do a video on this later on TikTok, and I'll share it on here. but I'm calling it right now. King Conan is going to be the first fully AI movie, and it's going to have Prime Arnold. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I am all down for that because I think King Conan would be a fucking awesome movie. I don't know why they didn't make it. I mean, I would literally watch. I mean, you could literally put like somebody's camera phone in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger for like 3 hours and just have him as an old guy sat on a throne with the Atlantean sword saying, "I am Arnold. This is my Atlantean sword. I strike death into my enemy." I would literally watch that for 3 hours and I'd pay like 15 quid to watch that. But I do think AI is going to be, when we're talking about movies, I don't know what this movie Daniel Tuds is talking about, but I do think King Conan is going to be the first fully fledged AI movie. And you know what? I am absolutely going to go to watch it. Donna Prepper is saying Switzerland stockpiles a year of food for its citizens. The UK has basically nothing. Donna, we may have nothing. We may not have a military. We may have no ships for our navy. We may have no aircraft. We may have a standing army that is the smallest it's ever been. But you know what? By golly, we are so woke. We are so compassionate and we are so diverse. And you should take strength in that diversity that we are managing to give 3 meals a day to people from all over the world. And we're like the global food kitchen. Yeah, listen, in all seriousness, all around the world, people are under, China's a big one as well. China's a huge one. All around the world, people are getting ready for the worst. They are. They're absolutely I literally bought today, I don't even know how many I bought. I bought them all. Do you guys know what pinto beans are? I don't know if you guys know what pinto beans are, but they had tins of pinto beans, right? And they were on sale. So I bought all of them and I probably got like 100 cans of pinto beans. Why? Because it's calories and they were 9 pence each. I couldn't turn it down, guys. 9 pence each. Maybe even less than 9 pence. Yeah, 9 pence each. I bought the lot. So I think I've got maybe 100 cans of pinto beans. I am personally now on absolute stockpile scenario, guys. I'm on a stockpile scenario. I think everybody needs to be on stockpiling scenario. The girls the other day, right? Here's one for you, right? The girls the other day, they went to school. Daddy, we need some sandwiches for school. I'm like, why do you need sandwiches? You never have sandwiches. No, Daddy, it's a thing now. We all have sandwiches. I'm like, right, okay, what do you want? They wanted ham sandwiches. So do you know what I did as a little sneaky swizzler to them? Don't tell them, right? Don't tell the girls this, right? I totally snuck out on the girls and I did this to them, right? I gave them chopped ham, basically. You know, like tinned ham. Yeah, cut that into slices. Didn't tell them. Put it on the sandwiches. They went to school, came back. Did you eat your sandwiches? Yeah. Yeah, we ate them. Did you like them? Yeah, why, Dad? Nothing. Didn't tell them. So yeah, we're starting to introduce the tinned food because I do think that's a huge thing. Hertzman West is saying Iran is accusing Israel of carrying out massive false flag operations against Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Cyprus, and pinning the blame on Iran. Yeah. So we said this would happen, didn't we? And what I'm going to say to this is, it may be true. I obviously don't know, right? It may be true. There may be some I've no doubt that the Israelis can acquire whatever kit and equipment it is to conduct those missions, right? I'm not saying that's not the case. What I'm saying is right now, like I've always said, we are already in that situation where it doesn't matter who did what to who, when, why, what. All that matters is winning and losing, right? And when you're in a war, you need to win. And that's the reality. So in direct response, Israel may be carrying out false flag operations against Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Cyprus. That may be the truth. It also may not be the truth. Right now, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because there's a war, right? And like I keep saying, doesn't matter. You get so far into these wars, doesn't really matter. Oh, but look, the Israelis did this. Oh, but the Iranians did this. Oh, but the Americans did this. It doesn't matter, right? You could equally argue, right? Iran has subverted the British government so much that they will not send military assistance to the Middle East. You know, doesn't matter. None of this stuff matters. Right, I'm literally just jumping to the bottom, guys, and then I'm going to come on to the next topic. Sean, talk about the French stuff I sent you and the school stuff. Right, I will talk about the school stuff, actually, because I don't know if you know this, but, in fact, let me open this. Is it that one? Hang on, give me a second. Right. So there has been today a bomb threat in another school in the United Kingdom. Oh, hang on. Right. So there has been a credible bomb threat today, another bomb threat in the United Kingdom, yes, towards another school. So credible bomb threat forces school into lockdown. Forces schools into closure and lockdown as police seek culprits. So what we're seeing right now is this absolute direct. Oh God, have I just done that again? What's just happened? I don't even know if I'm streaming anymore. I don't even know if I'm streaming. Am I streaming? I don't know if I'm on. I may be streaming, or I may have just gone off. Right, that's not going on. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I'm streaming. Close that program. Right, let me see if I can. Listen, right now. Guys, back on. I don't know if I'm back on, but I'm like struggling. Right, am I? Am I on? I think I'm on. Am I on? I don't know if I'm on. I might be on. I might not be on. I could be on. Guys, can somebody let me know if I'm still streaming? Because I feel four balls are saying I'm gone again, but I feel like I'm back on. I feel like I'm back on. I don't know. I identify that I'm back on. I identify that I'm back on. Right, I'm back on. Okay, so right, every time, I don't know, listen, guys, I don't know why this is, but every time I click on a link that Googleinos sends me, it just vanishes. Like, my screen freezes. So, like, I don't know. I absolutely don't know. Yeah, the Iranian sleeper cells got me. They finally got me. They finally got me. They came in. They came in, they swizzled me. Right, okay. So what we've been talking about today, guys, let me give you guys a quick recap, because in case you didn't notice, the world that we live in right now is absolutely not normal. Actually, I was going to do a members. In fact, I'll try and do a members only video about this later. I went to the petrol station earlier. I don't live in a big town or anything. I live like, you know, a little village outside, on the outskirts of Sheffield. And I've never seen queues before. I have never seen queues. I've never seen queues for petrol. Absolutely never. I have never seen queues for petrol before. It wasn't big queues. It wasn't big queues trying to get petrol, but we've got what is it? I think it's Shell. We've got like a Shell petrol station. I only go there if I like can't be bothered to go to Morrison's or like Asda or whatever. Anyway, there were huge queues. Do you know what? They weren't huge queues. There were like maybe like 4 or 5 vehicles, which is like unheard of for my little village. What I'm getting at here is more people are understanding what's coming, right? Otherwise, why would they be filling their vehicles up? They wouldn't. So everything comes from fuel. Everything comes from energy, because without fuel, without energy, you have nothing. Petrol, diesel, gas, the whole world runs on it. And all that stuff comes from, you know, you pull that from the ground. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Now, the reason I'm just bringing this to to the forefront of everyone, right? Right now, it's like, what time is it? It's like 8:30 or something. When I finish this live stream at like 9 o'clock, 9:10 or whatever, I'm going to speculate that there'll be no queues at the petrol station, right? In a couple of days, the fuel price is going to go up. So what I would do always right now, and this is just my advice, right? This is just my advice. Right now, while we're in crisis mode, keep your vehicle topped up. Yes, it's going to be a faff, right? It's going to be a faff. And the way that we go with it, right? As soon as you see the needle move from full, you fill it back up. That's the way we do it, right? On all the cars. As soon as the needle moves from full, you go to the next garage and you fill it up as soon as you can, and you absolutely brim it. That's for 2 reasons, right? 2 reasons. First of all, our bug out vehicle, we've got an extended fuel tank, and that extended fuel tank can get us anywhere in the country with 20. It can get us to the northwest Scotland with 20% fuel left over. There's going to be a point, I believe, where fuel will be rationed. Petrol, diesel, gas. Somebody messaged me the other day. In fact, they put it on the chat that they are being rationed already with oil. Oil's being rationed. So if you've got one of these oil heaters in your house, that's already being rationed. Now, this just feeds into this wider narrative, right? Of, you know how we say on the channel that nobody's ever going to announce anything in a big, hey, everybody, World War III announcement, Britain is now. Nobody's ever going to do that. It's slowly tippy-toey. So rationing is happening. It's just you're not being told, right? And rationing will get more severe, though you just won't get told. There'll be no media announcement. All it will be is, right, okay, petrol stations, you're not allowed to give anyone more than 100 litres. Yep, got it. Who really takes more than 100 litres? Very few people take more than 100 litres in a water. Very few. All right, okay. Now, for the petrol station, that's no biggie. All right, yeah, only 100. Yeah, nobody takes that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, a couple of weeks later. Yeah, nobody takes more than 80 litres. Yeah, well, there's only not that many less people or more people, whichever way that you're looking at it, take more or less than that fuel. Okay. Right, now it's 60 litres. Oh, right, okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, we're rationing. 50 litres. Oh, God, yeah. Ooh, wow, there's quite a lot of people who take 50 litres at a time. 40 litres. 20. You see where I'm going? The whole concept of the world that we've been, the whole concept of the world that we've got right now is we will be told, like somebody like Kirsten, we all think that when World War III starts, and I'm going to say it's already started, we all think that when World War III starts, Keir Starmer's going to stand up there, him and David Lammy, both in matching camouflage fatigues, and they are going to announce to the whole world that World War III started. That's not going to happen. It's just going to happen slowly, right? Right, listen, guys, let me jump on here and get some chat, and then I will. Right, CRF, sorry, is saying, Raven, do you have gas masks? Depends what you mean, gas masks. No, we don't have. What do you mean, gas masks? We have masks, not gas masks. No. We have masks that go over our mouths, and I've got them for everyone, but they don't cover they're not like military gas masks, if that makes sense. They just cover the mouth like that. And I bought these in COVID. I bought like the gas mask. They were like, I got them like Screwfix or something. And the reason I got them is because we was worried about COVID, and these little paper things, I didn't think those little paper things were very effective. I didn't think those little paper things were very effective. So I wanted to get like the proper ones with the airtight seal, and they've got like 2 filters at either side. I don't know what they're rated to. So do we have gas masks? No. Do we have face masks? Yes. Will they stop gas? Probably. What gas? Don't know. They don't have charcoal filters. So if you're looking at getting a gas mask, it's all about the filter, right? So when you're sucking that air in, that air gets passed through a filter, and that filter has to have charcoal and I think it's cat litter, basically. It's cat litter. And what's cat litter? Whatever cat litter is. Let me search this. What is cat litter? It's the stuff you do block, bang, rub with. If anybody's on the military, you know what I'm talking about. Is it Fuller's Earth? I think it's Fuller's Earth. I think it's Fuller's Earth. Fuller's Earth. Yeah, it's Fuller's Earth. So, sorry, I caught me off guard there. So, yeah, these filters that you get with gas masks, and look, guys, I'm not gonna claim to be some sort of like nuclear, biological, and chemical expert. I'm absolutely not. Like, most of my nuclear, biological, chemical, most of the courses I went on before the Iraq War, I was severely hungover, and I can't really remember much, guys. I really can't. I can't remember much. I was so drunk. So I know that's not the best. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, right? Right, we're trying to listen to Sean, and he's going to tell us, but he can't remember because he was really drunk. Well, I wasn't drunk. I was hungover. But anyway, yeah. So it's all about the filter. So you think about it, right? You've got these little masks on, little paper mask, blue paper mask, hands, face, and space. What's that stopping realistically? I don't know. I'm not going to comment because I'll get the video banned. I'm sure they're great. If you've got your mouth covered up and every time you suck in, there's no air coming out, only what's going through your filters, that filter needs to be made of, it needs to have some sort of charcoal element and some sort of Fuller's Earth element. And then they are really absorbent, and they will absorb all harmful stuff. Basically, any military grade respirator and go on a filter, that's going to be absolutely fine. Now, the filters, there's going to be a sell by date on those filters, right? There will be a sell by date on those filters. Now, go and check the sell-by date of clay, because that's what Fuller's Earth is, right? It's clay. It's literally it's clay based. Go and Google what the sell-by date of clay is. I would say it's in the millions of years, right? Because clay has been in the earth for millions of years, right? Also, go and Google what the sell-by date of activated carbon is. Charcoal, right? Go and Google what the sell-by, how long that lasts. And you'll start to understand the sell-by date on the respirator filter may not align with the sell-by date of the active materials, right? So I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, it's all about the filters, guys, because you need to filter that stuff that's coming in. Don't have a filter on and then just don't have a respirator on and then with no filter, because it really is the filter that's the important thing. Right, I hope I answered that question as comprehensively as I can. Right, and listen, guys, I'm just jumping down. Poker is saying, I love fig rolls with a cup of tea. Do you know what? Who doesn't love fig rolls? I wouldn't say with a cup of tea, though. I would say fig rolls chopped up and put into chopped up and put on the top of ice cream. That's what I would say with fig rolls. Four Paws is saying flipping cats won't go out. There's a badger in the garden. Oh, by the beard of Zeus. Right. Well, Four Paws, do your cats have Fuller's Earth as their cat litter? And if they do, that may be something to maybe you want to breed the cat litter. Emma Jane Taylor is saying, I can still remember the Gov website tendering out for rationing for a contract worth millions. Yes. You know what they have? And listen, Emma Jane Taylor, like I always say on this channel, right? If you want to know what's coming in the future, all the information is readily available right in front of you. You just need to know where to look. You absolutely do. Government tenders come out and, they have to do this. They have to do this. So you want to look on... Blue, I think the one for the emergency services in the United Kingdom is called Blue Light Tender or something. I think it's Blue Light Tender. And the one for the military, there's a couple actually. There's a couple for the military. What's the one for the military? Do you know what? I can't remember the one for the military, but the one for the police emergency services in the United Kingdom is Blue Light Tender or something. And all this information comes out. So, for example, if you think, right, are the British government planning a war in Ukraine? Right, let me have a look on the government website and see what kit and equipment they're trying to acquire. Oh, they're trying to acquire 20,000 sleeping bags, 20,000 ultra warm weather sleeping bags. I wonder why that is. 20,000 and we have 19,500 infantry. It's a no-brainer, right? You can understand, it's very difficult to understand what's coming. Right, I'm jumping down, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to jump down. There's lots of comments on the chat. I'm literally just scrolling down. Zoe Dean is saying, does anyone know the boxes of broken biscuits you can get? Well, I live 4 minutes from the factory. Was dead good when we could go get them. Oh God, you can't get broken biscuits now by the beard of earth. Yeah, Four Paws. So yeah, we're talking about cat litter, right? It's it's Fuller's Earth. It's in cat litter. James is saying, hi, patrons and friends. Over 250 on the chat. If you're new here, welcome. Jump on the chat. Very interesting to hear your opinion. Absolutely, James. Listen, guys, if you're on right now, first of all, you've not done so already, please hit those buttons down below. The like, the comment, the subscribe, bell notification, all those buttons down below, because it really helps me out when you guys do that. And throw a comment in there, even if it's your first time. Yeah, everybody's saying Fuller's Earth. Right, I'm literally just going to jump to the bottom. Right, Google Enos put a comment on, but I can't find it. There we are. Show what I sent you. France deploys 8 frigates, 2 amphibious helicopter carriers, and the country's flagship Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier to the Strait of Hormuz, 2 warships to Red Sea 2. Okay. There's big military buildups in these regions, right? Britain cannot get involved at this scale. Why? Counter to popular belief, Britain is going to lead against the Russians in Ukraine, right? That's what's going to happen. So all these other countries that may go and assist the Americans or whatever in the Middle East, doesn't matter, because Britain has to fight the Russians. How many times, like I've been saying this from day one. And the reason, so sorry, let me get this back up. So yeah, the French are sending a shitload of stuff down to the Middle East, right? Now the reason Britain is not, do you know what, actually, somebody sent me a message earlier. So you know the, what's the ship? HMS Dragon, is it HMS? Yeah, HMS Dragon. So somebody sent me a message earlier saying HMS Dragon, its drive shaft or something's just broken and it ain't going nowhere for a long time. So it turns out Britain may not even be sending HMS Dragon down to the Middle East. Doesn't matter. Why? Because Britain are going to be leading against the Russians in Ukraine. Why? Because Britain has the best strike capability in, apart from the United States, and I would say at a per capita level, it equals it. Britain has the best strike capability. So what do I mean by strike capability? Force projection capability. So the British military are very good at being able to project power. Okay, so Sierra Leone, 2000 and what was it? 2002, 2001, maybe 2001. Sierra Leone, 2001. West Side Boys captured some Royal Irish. British military went down there, hostage rescue, took back the hostages, killed all the bad guys, TM medals, everything was fine. That's force projection, right? That's the ability of having nothing on a location, and then 7 days later, you've got CH-47s, you've got you've got a helicopter gunship, hosing everything down, you've got special forces, you've got airborne forces, traipsing through your village, and everybody goes to the candy shop, all right? That's force projection. Nowhere else in Europe has that. No one. Not French, not German, not Polish, no one. No one has that capability. So when you're talking about military combat operations, you have to lead from the front. You do. You have to lead from the front. There's no alternative. So I've done a lot of work with other militaries, and especially old Soviet. Where do I go? I mean, I could literally talk for hours about this. So I'm going to try and keep this relatively short. So Soviet military doctrine uses conscripts, right? And look, guys, I'm just going to go down this road, and I know this may sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm absolutely not. At scale, conscripts will win trained soldiers at scale, right? At a tactical level, no, not a chance. They're not going to win. So sometimes when I'm on this live stream, when I'm on the live streams and I say, oh, NATO forces will destroy that location. Oh, but Sean, you said the conscripts will win. Yeah, at scale. Okay, so you've got to understand, we're heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale. What I'm talking about is limited tactical skirmishes, right? LTS. So Soviet military, they will have their commanders sat at the back and the conscripts up front. Why? Because the commander, he's the most important person. He's the one you need to protect. That's what all the minions do. Now, British military doctrine is that you have the commander up front. Why? Exact same reasons the Russians have him at the back, because he's the senior guy, he's the one with the knowledge, he's the one with the experience, and he was the one with the command power. So when you have the commander up front, he can make decisions. He can say, okay, I can see a, I don't know, I can see a dug-in trench position with 12.7 millimeter Dushakas firing on us. To defeat that position, I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. Right, I'm going to get on the radio and I'm going to call that in right now. Okay? That's why they do it that way. Now, if the Russians come under the same scenario, they're going to lose a load of conscripts, right? First of all, but don't worry because they can keep replenishing the conscripts. They're going to lose a load of conscripts. The time it takes for that conscript to pass the message back to the commander could be 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. And the commander doesn't really know what's happening because he's not seen it. So then that commander then has to formulate a plan. It's just carnage and chaos. However, so at the tactical level, NATO forces absolutely have the edge. At the industrial strategic level, from what I've seen, the conscripts have the edge. Now, if we're talking about war in Europe with NATO minus the United States versus Russia as they are now, because let's be clear, Russia are very well, they're empowered right now. The Russians are massively empowered. It's not a win. From what I'm seeing right now, it's not a win. A long war isn't a win for NATO. A short war is a win for NATO. A long, protracted war is a win for the Russians. Right, I'm jumping down again, guys. I hope I'm answering everybody's questions. Right, we're all speaking German again. I hope we're all speaking German. Command Hof is saying, ich glaube nicht, dass zum Dritten Weltkrieg kommen wird als Infrein alles sein Gorchengang. I think he's talking about aliens. But you know what? I'll go with that. Cindy is saying, and he would never say that stuff he has been saying to the face with President. I don't know where we're going with that. Hertzman West is saying, if we ever have to fight the Russians, probably this year, guys, let's face it, it's probably going to be this year. If we ever have to fight the Russians, then what are the migrants in the hotels going to do? That is listen, this is a contentious topic. It's a contentious topic, ladies and gentlemen. One that I need to consume more alcohol before I talk about. Do you know the best thing about making your own beer? It's like 25 pence a litre. Yeah, so Hertzman West is saying, if you have to fight the Russians, what are the migrants going to do? Well, there's a couple of trains of thought. Multiple things, I think. First of all, it depends how deep down these conspiracies you want to go. It really does. It depends, it depends how deep you want to go down these conspiracies. Okay, so when did the migrant crisis start? Listen, I will get Googly's comment in a minute, guys. People are asking me to get Googly's comment, and I will. Let me finish. Once I've done this, I'll get Googly's comment. So, depends how far down these rabbit holes you want to go, right? In short, if we have to fight the Russians, what are the migrants in the hotels going to do? Well, first of all, I think there would be a strong case for citizenship for service, or service for citizenship, or citizenship for service, whereby migrants are fast-tracked through the asylum seeking system. They're given a British passport if they join the military, right? I do. I also see the application of migrants enforcing the law. Yep, I do. I see the application of migrants enforcing the law. So, for example, Hertzman West, let's just say, for example, and this is totally for entertainment purposes, right? let's just say Hertzman West is a conscientious objector, right? And he doesn't want to go and fight no war. I ain't got no beef with no Russians. Whatever. I definitely see a scenario where the police would come and arrest you and they would have maybe 5 or 6 private security with them that don't speak English as their first language. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because I've seen these things develop. Can you remember when I shared the video with you? I shared a video with you guys, and there was, I don't know the background to the video. And when you share these videos online, nobody ever really knows what's just happened beforehand, right? Because a lot of these videos are clipped. And I always say that. Like, you know, when we saw the videos of the police officer kicking the guy in the head, I was like, what happened before that? Like, what happened? Anyway, so what happened before it is not really relevant. What I'm getting at here is we're seeing a massive uptick on security, private security that don't speak English as their first language, right? There's no question in that. That's the thing. Now, I shared a video with you guys where there was, like I said, we don't know what happened previously. There was a guy, a man, a white man, with, I believe it was his son in a pushchair. So he was only like a baby, and he'd come out of this shop, and there was a security guard he was a black guy. English wasn't his first language, and he was grabbing the pushchair. So, like, where do you go with that? Like, at what point do you grab someone's baby? Think about it. If you're a security guard, right, and somebody steals something, like, at what point are you going to go and rugby tackle their baby? Right? Like that 4-year-old kid. You're just not going to do that, right? As a native person, you're just not going to do that. Well, I wouldn't do that. I'd be the worst person on the tills at, like, Tesco or something. I would. I'd be the worst person. People will come to the tills and I'd be like, beep, beep. That one's for you. That one's for you. Just pretend that one's on me. That one's on Tesco. And when the store manager brought me in, he said, Sean, we've seen on the cameras you're not scanning a lot of the goods. And I'd just say, yeah. If I look at the family and and I think they need a little bit of a perk, I just let them have a load of stuff off. It makes them really happy. That's what I'd say. I'd get a sack. I'd be useless. But yes, as Hertzman West is saying, there's an absolute argument right now that two concepts, right? They may both be true. The first concept is that the migrants that are being let into this country, right? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, just as a show of hands, excuse me, who thinks the government is trying to stop migration into the United Kingdom? So say stop. And just as a show of hands, who thinks the government is trying to help migrants into the United Kingdom? And just put help. Because I'm on the help. I don't believe that the government are actively trying to stop migrants coming to the United Kingdom. We've seen, like, so many times. Look, guys, I share these videos with you guys all the time. Like the two main videos, right? The Chris Philp video where he's out on the boat and he's listening. I shared it with you guys. I've shared it with you guys a few times. I'm not going to do it now. So he's on the boat and he's listening to the communication between the French and the British ships. I don't know, Coast Guard, RNLI, I don't know. And he says, "Hello, British warships, this is French. Hotty, hotty, haw. I would like to retrieve 60 life jackets." And the British guy's going, Yes, hello, French warship. This is RNLI 24 Typhoon. Confirm 60 life jackets, and I will bring them back to you if you can board me very promptly from the rear. Or something like that. I don't know the conversation. But like in that context, like in the definite, in the legal, in the most broadest legal terms, and I'm just like, you guys think I do daily stuff in the day. I literally sit here all day, guys. And when I do the live streams and I come on the live stream, I talk to you. This is like a break for me, because I work like I work from 6:30 in the morning till like 9:30 at night. I work like a beast. I don't even know what beasts work that hard. Anyway, so in that context, where the British government are giving life jackets back to the French authorities to then give to migrants to cross over again, that's complicit. They're being complicit, right? They're aiding and abetting. Am I right? Like, if somebody was committing a crime and you was helping them, let me Google this actually. Let me Google in them. Legal definition of aiding and abetting. Let me Google this. Honestly, guys, give me a second. Right. Right, I'm going to share this with you now in real time. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is, but I'm going to share it with you guys. Why? Because we're a team. We get through these things together. We do. We get through these things together. So, aiding and abetting is a criminal legal doctrine holding an individual liable for assisting, encouraging, or facilitating another person, the principal, in committing a crime. Wow. Even if not directly present. Under Section 8 of the Accessories and Abettors Act 1861, such accomplices are punishable as principal offenders. Right, listen. Look, I'm not a legal expert. I'm just saying what AI says there, right? Okay? Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Right. Types of involvement. Listen, you guys that are on the chat now, right? Please. I know what I'm thinking. From what we've just said, right? The British government are giving life jackets to the French to the French authorities to give to criminal gangs to bring migrants over to the United Kingdom illegally, right? There's no question about that, right? There's if anybody wants to challenge that, we've seen that in real time, and that was authenticated by a British member of Parliament. So what I'm saying is coming from a senior British member of Parliament, right? Chris Philp. When he did the video, he went out, right? Do you know what? I'm going to have to share with you. Right. Fucking hell. We've got a legal claim. We've got a legal claim here. Give me a second. Let me find this video. Jesus Christ. Give me a second. Honestly, give me a second. Honest, guys, this is going to be worth it. I promise you this is going to be worth it. I know I'm going to share a video that I shared with you a couple of days ago. Just bear with it. Bear with me. Bear with me. No, I can't find it. Where is it? Where's that video? Huh, interesting. There it is. Right, okay. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, right? So, guys, just, right, look at this definition here, right? Okay, so aiding and abetting is a criminal legal doctrine holding a person, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so types of involvement. Okay, so you can be charged for aiding, giving direct physical or material support. Material support. You're giving them the stuff to commit the crime, right? Knowing they're going to commit the crime. Look, I'm not a legal expert. I'm just telling you guys what it says there, right? Now, watch this video. Watch this video.
Presumably pick up the migrants. And then.
So, Chris Philp, senior member of parliament.
The French warship escorting the migrant dinghy has just this moment entered UK waters. You can see up here Border Force Typhoon approaching the French warship in order to presumably pick up the migrants. And then this happened.
Border Force Typhoon French warship. Good morning, everybody. I'm proceeding with my rib to civil the embarkment on board your ship, and I would like to get back 60 life jackets.
Okay, so you guys, look, this is not me. I'm not making this up. I'm not speculating. This is Chris Philp. I'm just connecting these dots for you guys, right? So right now, the British government are okay. So when you commit a crime, as in breaking into a country, right? Everything you've got is criminal evidence. So that belongs to the Crown, I would assume, right? So that's government property now. So the government are giving 60 life jackets to the French authorities to give back to the next criminal gang. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the chat, guys.
That I gave to the rib proceeding to your ship.
Hang on. Right, sorry guys. Doctor, engineer, scientist, architect. Yeah, we're good.
French warship, Border Force Typhoon. Can you just confirm the number of life jackets you issued? Over.
60.
French warship, Border Force Typhoon. All copied, sir. We shall embark and then prepare that for your rib.
Okay, I'm not going to play the full video, right? However, you guys can see from that one particular video, right, that the government are giving materials back to France to give to the smuggling gangs, right? Now, if this legal definition of aiding and abetting is correct, the government are guilty of aiding and abetting illegal migrants coming to the United Kingdom. Look, I'm not giving you guys any speculation that you guys can't find yourselves. Like, all I'm doing is connecting these dots and putting these things together. Wow. I didn't even realize that was so blatant, guys. I didn't even realize that was so blatant. God. So when I go back to it, right, when we go back to what we were talking about previously, you know, I would say, yeah, help. Hang on. Help. Storm Minna Group. Help. Yeah, everybody's saying help. So we can understand now the depths of this problem. Now, if the government are complicit with aiding and abetting, right? If the government in the United Kingdom are complicit with aiding and abetting, what help do we have in passing a law, passing a legislation? This person's going to give this much money to... It doesn't... If the government are aiding and abetting, it doesn't matter, right? Right, Donna is saying China is preparing for a nuclear war, rapidly increasing its nuclear arsenal and placing strategic weapons on alert, says the Washington Post. See, I'm not convinced a nuclear weapon will... Hear me out, all right? I'm not convinced a nuclear weapon will ever be used. However, that doesn't mean I'm right. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. James is saying the UK has less than 160,000 rifles. Russians have millions. In World War I and World War II, UK soldiers had 4 million rifles. They don't exist. No factories make them. No, I agree. I absolutely agree, James. Listen, James, honestly, listen, ladies and gentlemen, the amount of documentation I've got the amount of documentation I've got on various servers, various hard drives, sent to various people regarding the military's inability to prepare for World War III, for a global conflict on an industrial scale, is unbelievable. All right. And if things go wrong, I'm going to release all that information. I'm going to absolutely release all that information. Miss Chloe Celeste is saying they closed student immigration from Sudan, etc., but not Pakistan. Well, the reason they didn't close it from Pakistan is because Shabina Mahmood is a Pakistani herself. She's a proud Pakistani Muslim. And listen, more power to her for being a proud Pakistani Muslim. But I would say the reason she didn't close student immigration from Pakistan was because she's a Pakistani herself. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm literally just jumping down, and I'm going to close this live stream down pretty soon. Stu Whitelock is saying, raising the colours said that weeks ago about the return to frogs of life jackets brought by charity firms from Decathlon. Raising the Colours said that weeks ago about the return to... Oh, right, okay, right, okay. I thought you meant like... Right, okay, okay. The French, I'm going to say... Right, okay. Sorry. Right, okay, let's do this again. Stephen Whitelock, I think his name is saying, Raising the Colours said that weeks ago about the return to the French of life jackets bought by charity firms from Decathlon. Yeah. I don't know when Raising the Colours said that, but yeah, look, it's been a long thing. I've been saying it for a long time. I said it, yeah, it doesn't matter who's... I probably said it first, let's be fair. Look, Raising the Colours have done some great work. They've done some fantastic work. That if you want to stop, look, guys, and I'll say this now and I'll say it again, and it's exactly the same. When I went out to the migrant camps in... when did I go? December? Was it December last year? When I went out to the migrant camps, I was there 30 seconds and straight away I saw the solution, right? The solution to stopping the boats is this, all right? This is the solution, nothing else. Nothing else is the solution. We need to set our own NGO up, non-governmental organization, and that non-governmental organization is based in Calais, in Dunkirk, in northern France, wherever. And the mission of that non-government organization is to provide security and monitoring to the people of northern France. So what you do, you set a website up, Calais Dunkirk Security, and you have people going out daily, monitoring where these migrant camps are, where the migrants have been walking, taking pictures, building up an OSINT, open source intelligence network. Additionally, an additional task to that non-government organization is environmental preservation. You walk the beach every day. If you find a rubber dinghy, done, disposed of. If you find a outboard motor, done, disposed of. If you find a jerry can full of diesel or petrol, done, disposed of. And guess what? You close the migrants down. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Trust me, guys. I've been saying that this is the solution. I've been saying this is the solution since early December when I went out to northern France. I even said to you guys that though, Danny Tomo and the guys from Raising the Colours, I said, listen, the only thing that's going to happen to those guys, I'm not discrediting them or anything. They did a fantastic job for the time they were there. I said, they're just going to get arrested. They're going to get arrested. They're going to get banned from the country. Done. And then that's it. It's over. If you start an NGO non-government organization, you have that legal framework to protect you. Oh, but Sean, stop talking about your legal frameworks. We're looking at World War III and similar. Yes, I get that, but we still need to do things legally, right? Everything needs to be done legally. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me jump to the bottom. Almost to the bottom, at least. Googleinos is saying, IRGC General Ibrahim says Iran is ready to fight a 10-year war with the United States. I mean, good luck to them. Honestly, good luck to them. I can remember when I was on the invasion of Iraq in 2000, and I know the Iraqis are not the Iranians, but they're very close. Like, literally next door. I can remember on the invasion of Iraq in 2003, before we went over the border, we was watching, I don't know what news channel it was. We was watching the news channels. And we was watching this news channel, and at this point, the US military had managed to, do you know what? I wasn't watching that there. I was watching it was a respirator. No. So when we crossed over the border, yeah, that was it. We crossed over the border, and then we stopped just south of Basra Airfield. There was a huge holding area, and then one para had to go to do this mission. We had to take Alamara, so we got stopped off at like a camp, and they had a TV. And we was watching this TV. They had like literally, and nobody had watched TV for months. We'd not seen anything for months. We was watching his TV screen, and there was this Iraqi guy, and he was saying the same sort of stuff like, "We will fight the infidels with holy Allah's wrath. We will destroy any American and Westerner that comes. There are no invaders in our land." And literally behind him, there was you could see three A1 Abrahams just cruising along, and a load of American troops. And it was, so when you listen to people from the IRGC and stuff, yes, they are very fearful. They invoke some pretty hard words, but you have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. You have to kind of think like you're listening to David Lammy sometimes. Sean, grab Google is comment about Israel and all right, hang on a minute. Oh, hang on. I got it right. Okay, so Googleinos is saying unprovoked act of aggression. Russia claims Israel attacked its cultural center in Lebanon. So the first thing that jumps out at me when we're talking about Russia and Israel is in biblical context. It's a sign of the end times when Russia attacks Israel. I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. However, Gog and Magog, or Zhuj and Mazhuj, if you want to talk. So Gog, G-O-G, and Magog. In Arabic, they call that Zhuj and Mazhuj. Now, Zhuj and Mazhuj, which are in the biblical end times, is supposed to be when Russia attacks Israel. Now, any sign of political, what's the word I'm looking for? Political, military, I guess, acts of aggression between these countries, you can't help but think of biblical context, right? Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm almost at the bottom. I am. Hertzman is saying King Charles converted to Islam. This is why he favors all the Muslims over Christians in his country. Grand Mufti of Cyprus, 1996. Does anyone have any information on that? Any further information on that? I don't know. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to close this down. Googleinos is saying it's a bit rude, Prince Andrew. Listen, Prince Prince Andrew, yeah. I mean, listen, he's been thrown right under the bus. Does anyone think, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the last thing before we go, right? This is going to be the last thing, right? Does anyone think that Prince Andrew is the only person in the royal family who is guilty of that? Do anyone think that Prince Andrew is the only person in the royal family who's guilty of doing, like, I don't know, whatever Prince Andrew is guilty of? Because let's be clear, you know, he's not been convicted of any crime yet. He's not been convicted of any crime. Hang on a minute. Google knows. Who did I call an idiot in the chat? I didn't call anyone an idiot in the chat. CRF is saying, is it not? Yeah, you know what? He's not Prince Andrew anymore, is he? He's just he's just Andy Windsor now. He's just Andy Windsor. You know Andy? Who? Andy? What, you mean Prince Andy? No, Andy Windsor. Big Andy. Yeah, he cleans windows for a living. Now he'll be kicked out of the palace. No, I agree, totally. We're not allowed to call him Prince Andrew anymore. Right, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are fantastic. I'm going to be back on tomorrow morning after my gym session at 10. Listen, if you're on here, right, and you're not working on your fitness, like everybody, just work on your fitness, guys. Do me a favor. You know, I tell you guys things that happen in the future. Work on your fitness, right? Trust me, you're not gonna regret it, right? You will not regret working on your fitness. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I will bid you all good evening. I'll see you in the morning, 10 o'clock. Don't be late.